Why am I small? Why am I small? Hang on. I shouldn't be this small. I should be normal size. There we go. Hello, minions. I know, I did blue ball you last time with the way I had to leave this case, and I do feel a little bit bad about it. Not very bad, because I'm not very capable of remorse, but I do feel a little bit of regret. A tinge, you might say. A tinge of regret. Hello, Midrulian. Welcome. I would like to... Speaking of welcomes, I would like to thank... Hang on. I think... Yes, that's right. VTuber Studio updated. I've got to fix something. Don't look at that. No, wait. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. Hang on. There we go. I've solved it. I fixed it. In my infinite wisdom and genius, I have solved the problem. I just had to recalibrate it. There we go. Beatrice made me small. No, Beatrice would never do that. I wouldn't allow it. Anyways, I wanted to thank Zealothia and Chris Lafortel for following a few hours and a few days ago. We're up to 820 followers now. What a nice round number. Magane mode? Very well. As you insist. Hello. Yes, I do feel bad for leaving my wonderful minions edging for so long on the last stream, where I took it to the, like, what must be the very final choice in this case, and I had to leave. But you know how it is. I'm a princess. I'm the leader of the Rose Rabbit Army. I'm trying to conquer the planet here. I've got a lot of work to do when I'm not streaming, and sometimes I accidentally stream too long and I have to go do other things. I do not think we'll have to defend Soseki again. I think we're out of the Soseki arc. He went back to Japan, remember? I did cliffhanger you. Anyways, we're right here. We're right here at the fateful decision where we expose Dr. Scythe as the true murderer. I just have to do it right. I just have to do it right. And when have I ever done anything wrong? Not me. I've never done anything wrong. I've never made one mistake.
Counsel, you've clearly struck upon a revelation. Now tell the court what it is. Which part of Dr. Scythe's story is shown to be a lie by the contradiction in her testimony?
Do you think Umineko has made me worse at Ace Attorney? No. I don't think that's the case at all. Let me check the court record real quick. I don't think anything in here is a lie. Yeah, it's a stabbing. The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of events. So, last time we established, I know we're in the middle of, like, the very end of a case, so I guess I should do a recap. We established that, 1, the machine, the giant platform this machine was on, had a hole in it, so that the cage containing the body could just fall into that hole and be hidden, while another cage containing a wax figure body double of the victim could be placed where it was allegedly, quote-unquote, teleported, which is obviously, that's not a real thing. You can't teleport things. So we established that, and then we established Dr. Scythe was blackmailed into faking the autopsy report to make the teleportation look real. To make it look like the real body landed up there. And boy, was I glad he was in there instead of up there, and I'm the sheriff, and he's the cowboy. But, yeah. And then we were like, wait, something's still fishy about this, which is that Dr. Scythe said she to make the body look like it had been murdered instead of died from the back-breaking fall, she stabbed it in the heart. And we were like, wait, that's fishy. What if he was still alive when she did that? If, when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time. But as you rightly pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage. Yes, it would, which tells us that the victim must have been in that position of his own accord. Which means he had stood up and she stabbed him to finish the job. That's impossible. The man was dead, remember? No, that is the misapprehension. The gasp. When the birdcage fell from the stage into the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. They just announced a Capcom showcase? Wonderful. I hope they show some new stuff there. Street Fighter 6 is exciting. They've been showing... I just before I started streaming, I saw, like, that that funny thing you can do in the Versus screen where, like, you can change facial animations. Like, Soul Calibur 2 did that, where, like, if you mash the buttons in the, like, the loading Versus screen when the characters are facing each other, they'll, like, yell at each other. Street Fighter 6 has something like that, and I think that's a really cute touch. I didn't like Street Fighter 5 at all, to preface talking about Street Fighter. I think the reason Street Fighter 6 is exciting is that even if I end up not liking how it plays, it looks like they're actually trying this time. Like, Street Fighter 5 is just like, it never felt like they tried with that game. Like, it launched with a small roster. They patched in, like, the story mode later, that sort of thing, and it was so lacking in content. This time they're really going all... And also it looked really ugly. Like, that's the big part. That game is hideous. Even now, Street Fighter V is one of the ugliest fighting games I've ever seen. But they're really going all in this time. It really feels like they're going to try and sell this as a complete game from the beginning, and that gives me hope that even if I don't like how the game plays, it'll be a nice experience. But, yeah. I hope that showcase has some other stuff in it, too. Like, they announced the RE4 remake. Maybe they'll show more of that there. Maybe that Resident Evil 8 DLC they announced, like, a year ago. God, please, a new Mega Man game? It's been so long since 11. Anyways. Also, maybe a new entry in the series we're playing right now, and a new Ace Attorney would be cool. Hopefully. I mean, I don't like Ace Attorney 5 at all. I genuinely hope a new writer takes over if for 7 if it's not Shu Takumi. They said it's more details on previously announced titles. Ah, okay. So, I'm not going to get my hopes up for any wild announcements. Anyways, let's continue the court case. When the birdcage fell from the stage into the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. Oh, this song is really good, by the way. The Great Ace Attorney has fantastic music. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I theorized. What if he was still alive? But Mr. Asman didn't die in the fall. He probably lost consciousness for a while, but when he came round, he got to his feet to climb out of the cage. Yeah, he teched it. It wasn't a hard knockdown. He was able to tech it and got back up. Just as Dr. Scythe appeared. Ah, the ellipses of obvious guilt. If the victim was in fact alive at that point in time, it changes everything. I love this, like, downbeat version of Ryunosuke's objection theme. Oh, right, I made this guy sound like a weird robot because he's like a... Look at him. Mr. Odie Asman's killer wasn't the defendant, Professor Albert Harebrain, nor was it the mastermind behind the stage trickery, Mr. Enoch Drebber. Spion? It was you, Dr. Courtney Scythe. Da 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 da.
Order! 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 Can this possibly be true?
Have you been taking me for a fool? It was you, was it? You killed him? Oh, she's sweating. We've got her. We've got her pinned. You hope that by admitting to being an accomplice in Mr. Drebber's scheme, the trial would end, before you were accused of a far worse crime. Cold-blooded murder. Oh, do shut up. You're so desperate now, you're making all this up. As if I would do something like that. Hi, Susato. You have a nice objection. I assure you the defense is not desperate, Doctor. Mr. Naruhodo has established the facts using evidence and logic alone. That's right. We've owned her with facts and logic. Ha! Logic? Don't make me laugh. Sadly, your logic has a gaping hole in it. What? What do you mean? Tisk! I'd have thought it was obvious. A motive, boy. You're lacking a motive. Oh, that one's easy. If the guy wasn't dead, then Drebber has no reason to not keep blackmailing you. What possible reason would I have to kill Mr. Asman? Asman was involved in any number of criminal activities, from coercion to theft to murder. But there is no known connection to Dr. Scythe there.
I'm rather relieved to say it does seem somewhat far-fetched.
True, there's no obvious motive, but there's still something in the back of my mind. I feel sure I've seen something somewhere that hints at why the coroner might have done this. Yes, I might have tampered with the crime scene and concocted a fake report, but murdering someone for no reason is a very different story. He's thinking. Give him a moment. No. When you questioned what possible reason you could have for wanting to kill Mr. Asman, something did come to mind. What?
What was it, Counsel? Enlighten the court at once.
Yes, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? Something that seemed strange, but we had no reason to suspect it at the time. There's a particular object that explains why Dr. Scythe would have wanted to kill Mr. Asman. Yeah, it's the Iron Mask. It's the Iron Mask. Yeah, remember how she ordered 500 scalpels for no reason? You've lost me. Oh, wait, yeah, it is the scalpel. Sorry. Sorry, I thought the mask was meant to point to the killer's identity. But yeah, it's the scalpels. We went to her office the other day and found that she had ordered like 500 scalpels for some reason. It's probably because she's embezzling. Oh, thank you, Susato. But what my colleague meant to say was scalpels. Perhaps that makes a little more sense to you? Thanks for the save, Susato. You're not just letting me try again. I see how it is. Ah, of course. They gave that one to me out of pity, I suppose. So it doesn't count as being wrong.
Did you say scalpels?
Oh! It would appear that word has struck a chord, Doctor. Come on, out with it. It was yesterday, when we visited your laboratory. Look at this big thick book here. It appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh? What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but, well, one entry seems rather strange. Am I still betting on Asman being the professor? Less than I was last time. I think my percentage of belief in that has gone down. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month. I think it's deeper than she wanted revenge on the guy.
500 scalpels a month?
At first, I wondered what on earth you could be using that many scalpels for. But actually, I realize now it's not the scalpels themselves that are significant. It's the money for them, disappearing every month from the department's accounts. Asmon's criminal organization relied heavily on extortion for its funding. Asmon was extorting her. Tracing the money from the forensic investigation team's account to find out where it was going would be extremely straightforward. 10 years ago, when Mr. Asmon was still a journalist and wrote this article about Mr. Drebber, he may well have stumbled upon information as he was researching the story. Information relating to Dr. Sai's darkest secret that he would use to rack money from her for the next decade.
Her darkest secret? Good lord, you mean?
I don't know what happened on the night of that execution 10 years ago. I wonder if it'll be relevant in the cases to come. But clearly, the opportunity to rid yourself of that menace was too tempting to pass up. Oh, that was a perfectly timed death slam. It like synced up with the music perfectly. So in the end, you weren't coerced at all, were you? You did it entirely of your own free will. You stabbed Mr. Asmon in the heart with all your might. To silence the blackmailer who knew your dark secret forever.
You'll never understand. None of you.
I like her Bayonetta hair, by the way.
What we've had to keep covered up all these long years.
Oh boy, spill it. Spill the state secrets. Tell me all about it. Tell me all about your funny little British state secrets. She didn't even have a ridiculous, like, breakdown. Like, she didn't freak out or anything. As very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb. The truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, it's very possible that Courtney Scythe will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done, and tell the court the truth about what happened. Yeah, I still think the professor's identity is very important. I just don't think it's, Asmon.
10 years ago, you told the truth, and you were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I can certainly understand your bitterness and your consternation now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for, to sever the hold that fate's had over you all these years.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain it's my original theory was that, wow, what Herlock Sholmes' character, as that is the name of the character, is referred to as a professor. Oh god. Help. Help. I'm stuck. Unstick me. Minions, unstick me. Give me a second. I did it. I did it. They unstuck me. They unstuck me. There we go. I'm back. I'm back. Everything's fine. Let's see what Drebber has to say.
Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis? I mean, really. It's the addle-brained mock scientists that are the worst, you know.
Hairbrain's a nice guy. He's just stupid. He just believes in, like, fake science.
They don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. They can't even get that right. And so they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about their wonderful hypotheses, their stupid eyes shining like a child's. They make me sick. I can't abide their foolishness. Careful, Mr. Drebber.
I was particularly pleased with the kinesis machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? Yeah, he's freaking out. I guess he's the one who gets the breakdown. Our Lady Dr. Scythe is too composed for that. You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim. Yes, I admit it. I did it all in the name of revenge. Ryunosuke gets his deep breath of victory. Revenge for the future that Mr. Asmon's article had deprived you of 10 years earlier. But the revenge you sought didn't stop at Asmon, did it? Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in. Yes, I see. The condemned convict that you saw rising from the grave in Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events was all true, then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge when it happened. Even if it meant discrediting a bright young man and crushing any future career he might have had. So your plan required that you abduct that particular waxwork model, in order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well. Or on Dr. Scythe, to be precise. I don't know, they kinda had it coming. Maybe not as... Well, you know what? Asmon had it coming too. It was a year ago. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Asmon turned up at my workshop. Yeah, he does look like an Ascian, doesn't he? The mysterious mystery man that that Von Zieks has been tasked with educating in the ways of prosecution. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. Yeah, I know I say it like Asmon. I try to slur it a little bit so it's more like Asmon, but I can't help it sometimes. I am, in the end, just an ass man. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article on the front page caught my eye. Bop, bop. About the coroner who handled that bogus autopsy being appointed head of a new forensic team. When I learned that news, my cognitive processes started to devise the plan. What a horrid tale. He robbed me of my future, so I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him for revenge, and have that rotten Scotland Yard eating out of my hand at the same time. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation I'd had to suffer. I kind of feel bad for him. He didn't really deserve any of that. Kind of looks like Sephiroth from the back. Your actions against those who'd ruined your future were justified as revenge, at least to yourself. Certainly, no one has the right to destroy another's prospects, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Did I? Yeah, you did it to Harebrain. Professor Harebrain's only crime was passion for his hypothesis, but you had no compunction about sacrificing his future to effect your revenge. You knew that he would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Yeah, I guess I kinda did. Perhaps life treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others' misconduct left your life in tatters. But you remember this. Your own actions resulted in exactly the same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. Oh no, he's sad now. I... He's sad now. We made him all sad. He's thinking about the consequences of his actions. Lucky for me, consequences are for ugly people, so I don't have to deal with those.
Lord Von Zeeks, what of Dr. Scythe?
An immediate warrant for her arrest has been granted. She's been remanded in custody, my lord. I presume she will face trial in the coming days, along with Mr. Drebber.
A most regrettable situation indeed. She's made great contributions to her profession over the years. It really is the hard truth to swallow. However, that is a topic for some future occasion. For now, Professor Harebrain.
Oh, yes?
It seems there was a great deal more to your experiment than you realized. However, I think we can assume now that all the sordid details have been brought to light. This has been a very long and profound trial, but I'm pleased to say you are absolved of all guilt.
This whole experience has taught me a very great but painful lesson. This dedicated scientist, this devotee of natural philosophy. I've been selfish and self-centered, and above all, a fool. Professor. Asmodem. Redeemed insults? Asmodem. Oh, Asmodem. You just love to redeem the insults, don't you? Are you some sort of masochistic freak? Is that what you are? Huh? You just love it when people say rude things to you? Is that the kind of little freak you are, Asmodem? You disgust me. I've spent my life thinking of nothing but my research, misguidedly believing that I could do whatever I set my mind to, despite my lack of talent. And the worst of it is, in the process, I've caused others pain and misery. Others who are far, far greater people than I. No, Professor, that's not true. Oh, that's right, they're college buds. What? Don't tar yourself with the same brush as Drebber. What happened was his doing and his alone. This outcome is his fate, not yours. You're not to blame in any way. Lord Von Zeeks. And the derision with which he referred to you earlier, calling you a fool, talentless even. Well, that may be true. The man has no idea. To believe in yourself and work your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams, that's laudable, not laughable. Do you think they explored each other's bodies in college? Oh, absolutely. There's no heterosexual explanation for this relationship, I'm telling you. No one has the right to deride another for such choices. Oh. Thank you, Barrick.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes, my lord.
It is this court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge of which he stands accused. I presume there are no objections?
None from me, my lord.
Certainly not.
This trial has really made me think, but this is the right decision.
It's all been proven methodically and rigorously. I've no misgivings whatsoever.
What's that? He's done, is he? It's all over.
Oh, I don't know what's become of the yard these days. I don't recognize the place.
Not in my days, what you were just saying, like, a week ago.
Very well. In that case, I hereby pronounce the defendant not guilty.
Hooray! Hooray! Look at all the confetti! And the fireworks. Again, I'm really convinced that's not safe. That's a big hazard. You shouldn't do that indoors.
Court is adjourned.
By the way, I somehow missed it, and I apologize. Midrillion, you also followed the channel. Thank you. Welcome to the Rose Rabbit Army. It's where you belong. Under my heel. It's over. That was some trial. The 24th of October, 4:33 p.m. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Bop, 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 bop. Professor, what a splendid outcome, isn't it? Oh, it is, it is. Congratulations, Professor Hairbrain. Mr. Naruhodo, Miss Susato, I am truly, truly beside myself with gratitude. How can I ever thank you enough? Megane mode again. Alright, well, the glasses are gone. We're out of court. We don't need them anymore. I'm just glad it's all been cleared up. That's you realize that you were just caught up in the bad situation. Ah, right now, you know, if I had that research grant money, I'd give the whole lot to you, every penny. I'm pretty sure you can't do that. Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so... We don't need any financial reward. Your acquittal is more than enough. No, I do think you need a financial reward. You do need to get paid for doing your job, everybody. Oh, dear. oh my. I cracked my voice a little trying to go too high-pitched. Sorry, I just imagine Hairbrain is very high-pitched. Oh dear. Oh, what can I do? Aha! How about this? As a memento, the paper about my hypothesis is inside. Well, just as a memento then, thank you. I've been wondering, Professor, what are you going to do now? Oh my, yes, what am I going to do? My hypothesis and my great machine lie in ruins. But still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the great exhibition whilst I'm here too, and see if new inspiration hits me. Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea. I can't allow that. Oh, it's Barrick. What is he? What's got him in a tizzy now? The Lord Von Zeeks, what are you doing here? Barrick! I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert. Well, if I'm honest, it was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there, snarling down on your prey. You're one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution or the defense. Well, that's an insult. Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm very good at my job. Sorry, or the defense? Did I just hear that right? Barrick looks like he's rocking a corset under his uniform. His waist do be kind of tapered, though. I always knew that you had my best interests at heart, don't worry. Ah, how about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we left university. We have a lot to catch up on. Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. What? From there, you'll cross the channel and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets. But no! Hold on a minute, Barrick. What about the great exhibition? This is the chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around. No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea. So the Reaper is real. Von Zeeks wouldn't be telling him to leave the country if the Reaper wasn't some real force and not just a series of very, very big coincidences. Oh yeah, Barrick is super tsundere for Hairbrain, I'm sure of it. Look at him, he's all concerned about Hairbrain's safety. So sometimes it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Barrick. Lord Van Zeeks. What's all this about? A necessary precaution. Yes, I think I understand. You do? Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Von Zeeks at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well, even though it's been more than 6 months now since he stood trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor. Ah, you mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas? Those in the Reaper's sights meet their ends days or sometimes months after their acquittal. That's been the pattern up to now. But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina were completely innocent. Yeah, Gina hasn't gotten got. True. And perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend. Ah, so he's a close personal friend, is he? Wink. It's actually hard for me to wink. There we go. Wink. Barrack! Like the most staunch Nipponese, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once. Right. Does your friend-shaped package get any say in it? Goodness, was this your intention all along then, Lord Von Zeeks? He had it all planned out. In court, where people think of him as the Reaper, this man seems absolutely merciless. And yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. Yeah, you've never had a friend-shaped package? A package you can put your friend in? It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being. Ah, yes, all right. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you so much for everything. Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you. Best wishes, Professor Harebrain. Well, once the dust has settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Anyway, goodbye for now. TTFN. Why are you still here? Now, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes. I thought you'd gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk with me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes. Because that's where we have most of our sprites. Well, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he was walked away this time. Dum 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 dum. How mysterious. What shall we discuss in the courtroom all alone? The enigma, Barrack Von Zeeks. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes, then. Dun, 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 dun. I like how it still has the time card, even though we just got one of those. 24th of October, 4:58 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Let's talk more where we can emote with these models. The court models. The thumbnail with Van Zee saying, "Does he know?" So, are you satisfied? You saved a guileless scientist from a great injustice. Yes, I think so. Well, of course he's guileless. He doesn't have a flash kick. I'm relieved, at least, that the man's innocence could be proven. Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my animosity towards you Nipponese comes from. Oh, he's just gonna tell us his backstory. All right, tell us all about it. Slap. Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. Ryunosuke's just, oh, I thought it was just me specifically. I imagined you saw me as a pretentious child from an unimportant land who had no business being here. Here's why I'm racist, a thread. 1 out of 500. But now I think differently. You clearly know our ways, so I would guess that some specific incident led to your dislike of my race. My racism and my experiences with the Japanese people. Will you tell me what happened, please? The professor. I thought I'd never hear that name in this courtroom again, to be honest. Oh, is the professor Japanese? He took your brother's life. Clint. My brother was Clint von Zieks. 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens, he was already the director of prosecutions and a key member of the judiciary. I looked up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations then too, to share knowledge and ideas. As part of one of those programs, 3 judicial assistants came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan. Yeah, one of them was Miko Toba. Oh, if it was 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father. Of course. I remember Dr. Miko Toba well. I had no idea. Yeah, his brother's name's Clint. That's a normal name. I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecution's office. One day, Clint introduced me to the 3 visiting Nipponese. So, you've actually met my father? He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work and exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with the Nipponese spirit, and it made a very great impression upon me. But 6 years later, that's when it happened. The investigation was going nowhere. There were no suspects even, just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved. I don't think there's... You can see in the background behind Ryunosuke, there's no audience anymore. Everybody left after the court adjourned. Usually there's like silhouettes there in the back behind Ryunosuke. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zieks, truly. Clint was always ready to put his life on the line for justice anyway, so he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to the killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. Clint's name, originally spelled Klimt with an M, is a reference to Austrian painter Gustav Klimt, who was heavily influenced by Japanese art and culture. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's fascinating. When I finally found out the killer's identity, the reason why no one had been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. He'd been hiding in plain sight all the time. In plain sight? Are you aware of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomacy between the British and the Japanese empires. A new treaty was being forged, I think. Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions, which is why this particular killer's appearance in court was conducted as a closed trial. Ah, so I'm right. The professor was Japanese. If the British public had known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, but our 2 nations could very well have ended up at war. And I bet it was one of the of the visiting Japanese. One of them was Mikotoba. The professor must be one of the other two. What? A war between Britain and Japan? But that would mean... Oh my! You mean to say the professor was...
When the trial reached its
Oh,
conclusion,
he has voice acting
I
now.
thought to myself, yes, it's time.
Oh, he has the key. He must have gotten it from Dr. Scythe, because she had it.
Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster.
I'm glad my voice for Barrick isn't too far off.
I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum. So
Or I'm sorry, yeah. Tuspel's had it.
With your own eyes.
He does sound a lot like
That's been
Astinian.
hidden this past decade.
Uh-oh. It's gonna be someone we know, isn't it?
That's the professor?
Yes, that's him.
It is Astinian. Oh, well that tracks, doesn't it?
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before.
Okay, it's not someone we know. Barrick is voiced by Seto Kaiwa. Yeah, oh, Kenjiro Suda. Oh, that's cute.
Was Japanese.
Wait a minute. That face. I feel as though I've seen it somewhere.
Oh, where have we seen it?
Familiar.
Where have we seen it? Oh, he recognizes it. Here we go. Yeah, you can take it off now.
Father.
Oh, it's Kazuma's father.
What? Father?
That must be why Kazuma was so desperate to get into law and why he wanted to go to Britain specifically. I do love this outfit. It's very Akechi from Persona 5 with the mask especially.
Kazuma!
Bum bum bum. I always loved Kazuma's theme.
My best friend, Kazuma Asogi. After a whole year, finally his memories returned.
He's got different hair now. It looks good. I like it.
As he stood there before me.
This song is so good. Oh no. Oh, it's so good. Kazuma, I gotta say, your tits are popping in that outfit.
Ryunosuke.
My guy best friend. My guy best friend has come back to me. Oh yeah, his hair looks different because he's not wearing the headband. It's fallen down more.
Kazuma-sama!
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba. It's been a very long road. Thank you.
Is this Thancred?
Thank you for guiding my friend here.
It almost sounds like Thancred's voice. Why are there so many 14 actors in this game?
It was an honor.
In Japanese, it's Thancred? Okay. It almost sounds like his English voice.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily. Kazuma.
I owe you thanks, too. For taking good care of that in my absence.
Oh,
Yeah, his sword. A katana is a man's soul.
Karuma. The great blade of the Asogi clan. Passed down
Karuma.
through the generations. When we left Japan, this sword was at my friend's side. A Japanese man's katana is his soul.
Yeah,
He couldn't be parted from it.
I like it when swords are souls. That's cool.
A tale of
But then,
souls and
When the
souls.
incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword, and I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared.
The guy best friends.
With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
So the professor is his father, huh?
At last.
Father. Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time? I'm looking at it, but I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
What could it mean? What could it mean? Besides the literal thing. Off with his head. Or that too. Off with his upper torso. Yeah, do the yeah. Foolishness. Now I'm motivated.
Ryunosuke, we have much to talk about, but now is not the time.
Why not now? Why not now?
I'll be seeing you.
What? No, don't leave. My guy best friend.
That's all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
Why leave? Why not tell me now? Why not give me all the answers to the secrets at this very moment instead of making me play 2 more cases? Oh, we're back at the stands. So he's the living after image of the man who took my brother's life, is he? We're out of money for voice acting. Back to the bench. Yes, Kazuma Asogi, my best friend. 3 months ago, when Lord Strongheart introduced us, I had an inkling there was something there, some connection. But why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why did he make Kazuma Lord Von Zieks' apprentice? And when he was suffering amnesia, too. The man was apprehended, even executed. But his legacy just won't die. That's the sad truth. I don't know, Kazuma's a fine legacy. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you for meeting with me as I asked. Goodbye. I'll return to say some racist things another time. Yeah, Kazuma has drawn the racist aggro now, because he's related to the murderer who killed Barrick's brother. 10 years ago, my grandmother took me to this railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me, it was the first time I'd ever seen him. Poor Susato-san. All this is tied up with painful memories for her, too. She's never talked about this with me before, though. It took time to adjust to having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son, a boy 7 years my senior. Father told me the boy had made a promise to his late father, so he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, that young man's name was Kazuma Asogi. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great
Oh, the
friend
voice
had
acting's
returned.
back. They found
With
some.
the
They
disappearing
found some
emerald
change
tissue.
in the couch cushions.
But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. As if great wheels had been set in motion. I could almost hear them creaking into life. In some ways, it was the end of a chapter. But in many, it was the start of a new one.
Yeah, that's how this game works. It's got chapters. I do like Ryunosuke's English voice actor. It does seem like they went out of their ways to get like voice actors that match their nationalities, which is cool. Like Ryunosuke, Susato, and I'm assuming and I'm assuming Kazuma are all played by Japanese actors. And I think that's really cool. Episode 4, Twisted Karma and His Last Bow. That is an ominous name, let me tell you.
Pipe in hand, Sholmes looked down at the thick, rolling fog outside our window. I wonder exactly how many mysteries are out there, hidden within this bed of fog, he said.
Ryu's Japanese voice is Kokichi. Oh, that's cute.
Indeed, a most bizarre incident, born of a curious advertisement.
What is going on now?
A hellhound's mad gallop through the shadows of a serial murder.
Uh-oh.
An executed man's graveyard resurrection in the dead of night. And a commonplace killing in a small, forgotten room at the edge of town. There is, naturally, always another side to every case, of which most
It's
remain
all connected.
And it is that other side which compels me to the scene of the crime, Wilson. So quickly now, take your hat and let's be on our way, my dear fellow.
It's all
For
connected.
our adventure is not over yet. Come, the game is afoot.
The game is afoot. But which foot? Eight days after the earth-shattering trial and Cosimo regaining his memory, we were in the foyer of one of London's most luxurious hotels, the Great Waterloo Hotel. Yeah, it's quote-unquote Wilson narrating the stories, but it's actually Iris who writes them. Professor Mikotoba is due to arrive at any moment. Yes, I'm so glad we got here in time. She just using her father's name as a pseudonym for writing the Sholmes stories. She doesn't know it yet, but her father died in the first game. Susato-san hasn't been the same since what happened. Not that I'm surprised. The truth about Kazuma-sama's father. Do you suppose my father knew that he was actually the mass murderer, the professor, you mean? I knew that's what she was thinking about. There's a good chance, I'd say. I mean, they did come here to London together 16 years ago, didn't they? Yes, that's true. Come to think of it, didn't you say that Professor Mikotoba knew about Kazuma going missing in Hong Kong as well? That's right, but for some reason he wasn't at liberty to talk to me about it. That probably means he knows then. About Kazuma showing up here in London with amnesia, and then he's regained his memory now. Ah, there she is. Oh wait, who are these guys? Oh wait, I didn't recognize them because they're in suits. It's Mikotoba and the judge from Japan. Hello, Susato. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. We're delighted you've arrived safe and sound. Yeah, they're dripped out. Look at these guys.
Hello, Mr. Naruhodo. Very kind of you to take the trouble to meet us here.
Oh, no, not at all. It's my pleasure.
We've heard all about your extraordinary exploits here in London, you know. The news has crossed the seas.
It has?
I always look forward to reading the monthly reports that arrive with the steamships from Britain.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you very much. Who is this man? And why do I feel as though I've seen him before?
I take it from your expression you can't quite place me.
In that case, how about a little reminder, Seishiro?
A firm tap should do it.
Yes. A firm tap? What?
Here we go, then. I hereby pronounce the defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, guilty.
That's cute. Ah. Oh! You're... Bwah.
The court will now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Way back then. Your Excellency! Hello, Judge Jigoku. How are you? It's been a long time.
Good, you've remembered now. That really did the trick. Guilty! Ha ha ha!
Only I was declared not guilty, wasn't I? And there was no laughing at the time.
So, London again after all this time. Hard to believe it's been 10 years.
Ah, so Jigoku was the third person who came with Mikotoba and the professor.
To be honest, I never thought I'd be back. Neither did I. I don't imagine Japan would ever be invited to an international symposium like this. Though really, I doubt anyone did, to be honest. It's all thanks to you, isn't it, Seishiro? What are you talking about, Eugen?
Of course, Judge Jigoku. He must complete the set. He's the other man who 16 years ago came to London with Kazuma's father and Professor Mikotoba. He's the third visiting scholar.
Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot out of time. Well, I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Oh, I knew you were jealous.
Sorry, ministerial status?
Yes, didn't you know? Seishiro here is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. It was his personal insistence that you allowed to take Kazuma's place here on his study tour. Guilty as charged!
Oh, well, thank you very much. He's really every bit as important as he looks. He loves being a judge.
Ah yes, Naruhodo. Well, I received a telegram from Lord Strongheart yesterday.
Oh, you did?
It appears that some things came to light in a trial you were involved with 8 days ago. About what happened 10 years ago. That's tragedy.
Yes, could you tell us any more about it? But first, would you look at this? Professor Mikotoba, I wonder, could I show you something?
Why do you seem so nervous?
I suppose because I'm a student showing something to a professor. That's always quite nerve-wracking.
Well, I'm sorry I perturb you in that way, but anyway, I'm afraid I have nothing useful to say about that, really.
Oh well. There's nothing to say about it. Tell us about your journey from Japan. So how was the voyage here?
Well, 50 days at sea is a long time by anyone's standards. But it wasn't as bad as when we first came 16 years ago. No, that's true. And I truly wondered if we wouldn't be drifting in the vast ocean for the rest of our lives. This time we followed the same route as you, so we were able to relax and enjoy the experience.
Ah, so you stopped in France's beautiful capital, Paris.
We did, yes, though only for one night. And yesterday evening we left the port of Dunkirk for Dover. Just in time for the symposium, in fact. It starts tomorrow.
It's wonderful that you were invited to attend such an important international event. I'm very proud of you, Father.
It's thanks to Seishiro here. 16 years ago, he managed to ingratiate himself with Britain's Attorney General. I'm sure that's why he was invited, and I suppose you could say I'm something of an appendage by default. Speak for yourself, Eugen. You are close friends with the professor of forensic science at a major hospital.
I really love Seishiro's beard game. Incredible grooming.
Yes, well, I'd rather not dredge all that up, really. No, there's been a lot of water under that bridge since then, but it doesn't bring him back.
Kazuma's father, I suppose. Tell us about Kazuma's daddy. The professor, the killer who took the lives of 5 members of the British aristocracy, was actually Kazuma's father, wasn't he?
That's correct. Genshin Asogi. You could say he made quite an impact.
Genshin. You knew, I presume, Father?
Yes, he was a close friend at the time. Genshin came to Britain as a police detective. He was studying investigative techniques at Scotland Yard. Well, I've never understood what drove the man to commit such heinous acts.
I'm funny. I'm funny. My jokes are good.
It was a closed trial, so the public never knew the truth, and he was executed with little ado. To this day, very few people know what really happened, even in our homeland.
But what about Kazuma? Did he know? Did he know the truth about his father?
No, of course not. He was told his father passed from sickness. However, I suspect he may have his doubts.
Really? You don't say after you cut that wax statue in half? Oh, why?
As you know, I tried to guide Kazuma growing up as if he were my own son. Then one day, he came to my office at the university and said, "I've decided. I want to travel to Great Britain and study there."
Do you think he wanted to come here to investigate his father's death?
I don't know. But when I looked into his eyes, I did know that there was no way I'd be able to stop him.
Something else came to light in that trial the other day, actually.
Oh, what?
Well, having disappeared in Hong Kong and been missing for almost a year, Kazuma since turned up here in London, working as the apprentice of Lord Von Zeeks.
What? What? That's news to us.
So, Lord Strongheart's telegram neglected to mention that part then. Wow, they didn't know. Strongheart just didn't tell them, huh? That seems problematic. As you know, we both thought Kazuma had died on the steamship during our voyage to Great Britain in January. But he didn't die. He's alive. As you knew, didn't you, Father?
In actual fact, no. What I did know
is that when our ship docked in Hong Kong, he mysteriously vanished.
We sent a team of investigators to Hong Kong to try to ascertain what had happened, but to no avail. But he's still alive, and here in London, you say?
I never dared to even dream it.
Why on earth did the young man not make contact? The government and the police have been chasing clues fruitlessly for months now.
Yeah, Jigoku Enma. He's based on King Enma, and his full name roughly translates to Merciful Prison Politicianeer. Jigoku can also mean hell, but that's spelled different in kanji. I figured. I mean, he is certainly a merciful prison politicianer. I guess a prison politicianer is just a very weird way of saying judge, isn't it? Well, it seems that he was suffering from amnesia.
What? Amnesia?
When we first came across him again here in London, he didn't even know who either of us were. I see. He only regained his memory 8 days ago.
This is unbelievable. Yes, it's quite miraculous.
I wonder why Lord Strongheart didn't let us know.
I must speak with him urgently.
Yeah, what's Strongheart's motivation here? I told you all he had Damon Gant energy. I wonder how Kazuma's been these past few days. Would it be wrong of us to go and visit him? Tell us about your time in Britain. Your fun times with your murderer buddy.
That began 16 years ago now. It's a distant memory, really. It was Yujin here, Genshin Asogi, and myself. We were the original three. The first judicial scholars from Japan to travel overseas to study.
I like his eyebrows, too, the judge.
Our ocean voyages were not what they are today, I can tell you.
16 years ago. Things were tough for their generation.
Your father was an exceptionally fine medical student at Une University at the time, you know, young lady.
Yes, grandmother told me.
He went to do research at the great London hospital to study autopsy, practically unheard of in Japan. Yes, it was an eerie place, sandwiched between the back of a prison and a burial ground.
Not more talk of graves.
Very often, there's no one willing to deal with bodies following autopsy work. So you see, autopsy labs have something of an unavoidable relationship with graveyards and prisons.
Not my cup of tea at all. Do you think they explored each other's bodies?
Do you remember the Scottish prison governor? Collydon, his name was. He was a good man. Yes, but then of course, in our 60th year here, everything changed with that dreadful case. When Genshin was arrested for a series of the most gruesome murders. I simply couldn't believe it. I'd known the man for years. I was a witness at the secret hearing, but I tried to speak in his defense, but you went a little too far and ended up facing charges yourself, didn't you?
So there's a chance Genshin Asogi might have been innocent the whole time, huh?
Well, suffice to say that after the trial, we were sent back to Japan. There was nothing more we could do to save Genshin. He was a lost cause, sadly. Well, if you'll excuse us now. Yes, I'd like to get this trunk up into my room as soon as possible.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have held you up here for so long. I'll call for the porter then. Just wait here. There she goes. Noom. Suzato-san's gone off at a run.
I'd like to say and talk more, but I do have various preparations to make for tomorrow.
Yes, of course. It must be a big responsibility representing our entire country. I wish you the best of luck.
Naruhodo. I hope you'll keep an eye on Susato for me. Keep looking after her, as you've obviously been.
Oh no, I mean, if anyone's looking after anyone, it's her looking after me.
Well, I do appreciate you being there for her. After all, I've been a miserable father to her. I've thoroughly let her down.
Sorry? What do you mean? Well, all the lies, mostly.
Well, it was 16 years ago that I started my long study tour here in Britain, as you know. The very year Susato was born.
Yes, I heard.
The birth of my daughter was the most joyous event of my life, but... well, sadly, it was accompanied by the most tragic event of my life, too.
Oh, yes. Suzato-san hinted at something like that. Did the mother pass away in childbirth or something? It was a rather turbulent time at home.
Anyway, I won't bore you with the details. The point is, I became rather less dependable than benefits like a grown man.
And it was then that Seishiro offered me the opportunity to study here in Great Britain.
I was too worried about you to leave you behind.
So perhaps I was a little heavy-handed when it came to persuading you to accompany me to London. So, that's what happened in a nutshell. And that's also the reason why I now feel completely compelled to give my daughter as many opportunities as I can. Though the world does not readily afford young women much things, I must say. I completely understand, Professor. Ah, one other thing, Naruhodo. If I may be so bold, I have a favor to ask of you. Oh, really? Of course. What can I do for you? I'm so sorry that took so long. Miss Susato. Wait, I remember this guy. He was on the bench in a case in the last game. Now then, allow us to take your bags.
Allow me to take your bags. One moment, if you please. Of course, sir.
That machine around your neck. It's a camera, I believe. Quite right, sir. Just 5 shillings for a lovely photograph to commemorate a wonderful stay at the hotel, sir. Well, I think given the occasion, we could justify the expense. Yeah, he's got his drinky already. Ah, yes, of course. Snap. Ryunosuke looks so nervous standing next to the judge. I'd like to thank you for coming with me, Mr. Naruhodo. It's really made Father very happy, I think. Oh, well, I'm pleased then, but we never were interrupted before. Professor Mikotoba was about to ask me something. Shall we return to Baker Street then? I suspect Iris will have some delicious tea waiting for us. Yes, let's go. I'm getting more and more anxious about Kazuma, though. Perhaps I'll try to meet with Lord Strongheart later and ask after him. A new location. We'll go to Sholmes' suite first. First November, Sholmes' suite. Uwe! What is Uwe? What was that? A man screaming in a most unflattering way. Do you think... Could it have been Mr. Sholmes? Oh my, I do hope not. Who's this freak? Who are these? Where? I don't do it anymore. Mon ami, mon ami. Stop this disgraceful display, huh? Who are these people? Look at their hair, it's bright red. I think it must be clients of Mr. Sholmes. Right, you two, you're coming with me now, down to the clink. No, not in prison. It's dark and damp, but I don't like it. Oof, the darkness, it is my friend. I am not scared. But you're always scared of the dark. Shut your mouth, you idiot. I will sit quietly in the dark and plan on next daring heist. I don't like this. I don't like it. Well, tough. We'll finish this down in the yard. Now get moving. I like how the little one salutes and the big guy just falls over. Bye-bye then, Ginny. Have fun. Oh yeah, thanks, Iris. And thanks, you great detective. Gina makes a fine detective herself, doesn't she? Oh, Susie and Runo! Hello, Iris, we're home. Well, did you find your daddy? Yes, we arrived at the hotel just before he and his friend. Oh, well that's great news. I hope I'll get to see my daddy again soon. Instead of that, you'll just get a giant sand pit. Dr. John H. Wilson. So, Iris, all that remains now is the greatest of photo problems known to man. Oh, wait, why is his hair red? But before we concern ourselves with that, I believe some tea is in order, don't you, my dear fellows? Why is his hair red? Is something wrong, Miss Naruhodo? Do I have a crumb of such-like on my face? Not so much on your face. Same as your head, I think. Come along then, everyone. I brewed a lovely special tea. Time for tea. Whatever is going on here today? In that case, let us sit and drink now, for I am, in fact, expecting a guest later today. No, Sholmes is blonde. But I've got a lot of questions. No, it was always blonde. I don't know if he was dyeing it, but I doubt it. I think it's just a bit because the clients that were here a minute ago were both redheads. Mr. Sholmes, who are the gentlemen that were here before? Oh, just a pair of petty criminals. Nothing of significance. Of course, they have to make a living somehow. And when the mood takes me, I'm willing to hunt a blind eye at all manners of infractions. When the mood takes you? All the manner of infractions. But when such fellows set their sights on Mr. Sherlock Sholmes, well, that's when their luck runs out. Oh my, you were the target of a crime, Mr. Sholmes? Sorry, I'm a sleepy boy. But I quickly devised a plan to entrap them and deliver them to your young detective ally. You should have asked Gregsy to come too. We could have had an embarrassing tea party. I did send word, but no one answer was forthcoming. After the man is continuously in the wrong place at the wrong time, there's a word for it, I'm sure. Deja vu. I have it. A bungler. That's the word. Not deja vu. That's weird. It's a good job he's not here to hear you say that. So those redheads had been up to no good? I wonder what the men did. Tell us more. What was that about the greatest of problems known to man that you mentioned before? Is it another fiendishly intricate case, Mr. Sherlock Holmes? Sherlock Sholmes? Sherlock, that's not a real character. How should I best explain it? Are you aware of the theory of evolution by natural selection, perchance? Well, I think I've heard talk of it somewhere, possibly. It's a revolutionary scientific theory that was newly proposed 40 years ago now. Yeah, we got Darwin up in this shit. According to its author, Mr. Darwin, we humans were once apes who lived in the treetops. What? We were apes? All my apes gone. Indeed, and from the very moment those apes descended from the canopy to live as humans, it has been our lot to be the mercy of the greatest problems known to man. Our lot? What is this great problem, Mr. Sholmes? Why, is it not obvious, my dear madam? The problem of rent. But did you not receive a rather strong... But did you not receive a rather large sum of money from Madame Tuspel's only the other day? Pshaw, a large sum? One potted herb for Iris and a new motor for car for me later, and all of it has quite disappeared, I assure you. Honestly, Hurley, you know you squandered it. Yes, well, anyway, 2 days ago. He's just sidestepping the issue. I discovered the answer to a man's greatest problem, from the upcoming months at least. And what was the answer? Why, there is a substantial clue. Before your very eyes. Don't tell me, let me see. Humans are sorry creatures. I'm unable to see what is in front of their noses. Let me give you some assistance. Don't look, but observe it more closely. There's also one particular feature about my person that has changed. In the end? It's been stabbing me in both eyes right from the very beginning of our conversation. I think we might need another clue before we uncover the full answer, Mr. Naruhodo. Thanks for the hints. I'll be tearing my hair out if this charade goes on much longer. Okay, we just need to find evidence of boy activity. Mr. Sholmes, isn't it about time you told us the truth? Just over a week ago you said to us... I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that. Oh, I'm sleepy. Ugh. I might have to end a little earlier because I'm so sleepy. That case aboard the SS Buria in January, Kazuma wasn't killed, and you knew he wasn't dead at the time. So what was really going on? The fellow was unconscious for a very long time. If he hadn't regained consciousness when he did, his life would have been in mortal peril. Of course, a side effect of the prolonged composite state was amnesia, as you know. It was a simple enough task to silence the crew. But how? After they'd carry him out of the cabin, I assembled them in the lobby area. Then I made them swear to leave him unconscious and have him unbelayed from the ship in Hong Kong as a murdered corpse. Oh gosh. Oh, how terrible. It was necessary to find some material with which to persuade the crewmen to give their words, I assume. But why? Why did it happen in the first place? I will be at the liberty to elaborate in due course. But since the line bearing, I wouldn't be able to reassure you. I didn't foresee subsequent events. What events? His disappearance in Hong Kong. Oh. I believe I may have made a gross error of judgment. Oh wow, who would have thought? Never done that before, have you? Mr. Sholmes. I'm not telling you anything else. Do be careful, Mr. Naruto. Don't mistakenly put your feet into the fire, will you? You'd suffer terrible burns, you know. I worry sometimes about how Susato-san sees me. She's like, you're like a little baby to her. I guess that's all we have. Let's go talk to Strongheart this time. Oh, Varric is here too. The 1st of November, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office.
Here's the final draft of the opening address for tomorrow's proceedings. I've supplemented your original with the figures you asked for from the yard. I see. I see. Excellent work. Thank you. You're welcome, my lord.
What's Lord Von Zeke's doing here? Good night, Caskin. Thank you for watching. My, there seems to be an awful lot of tension in the air, wouldn't you say? This place is stifling enough as it is. We really don't need any more tension.
Hello. My apologies. I didn't notice you come in. Your small stature and dark dress makes you all but invisible to me.
Oh, no, it's entirely my fault for wearing black, I'm sure. From now on, you must dress in white from head to toe whenever you come here.
Now then, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, my lord. I'm right here.
I give you your badge bag for 1 second, and you go about exposing state secrets.
Kill me now. Is something wrong?
Perhaps it's a little too hot in here for you.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, I've never experienced a room at such a perfect temperature.
You feel sure, and the beads of sweat carving their way down your face seem to suggest otherwise.
Shootin' Dragoon, thank you for giving out 2 gift subs to Assassin Pro 1 and Collapsed Vigil. I hope you enjoy your emotes, you new subbers, you new 2. Wow, you've delivered me 2 subs. Thank you. Bum 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 bum. Sorry, I had received DMs, but they were not important, so I ignored them. Thank you again for the gift subs, Shootin' Dragoon. Because of the daggers you're staring at me with, mainly.
As you're no doubt aware, my International Forensic Science Symposium begins tomorrow. In fact, your father arrived in London earlier today, I hear, madam.
Oh yes, that's right, my lord. He's extremely honored to have been invited.
I'll leave the remaining preparations for the meeting room in your capable hands then, Lord Von Zeeks, and I will attend at once.
I'm looking at you knowingly. The tension between us is palpable. Will I be able to get over my racism to give this rivals to lovers a try? We'll have to see out. We'll have to see. He gave you a very cold stare as he left, didn't he? I know, but I haven't done anything, have I?
These past few days, my feet have barely touched the ground, I must say. My dedicated right hand of many years was recently put out of action in spectacular fashion.
He's talking about Dr. Scythe. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is your left hand still of service? Mr. Naruhodo, he's talking about Dr. Scythe. Of course. I'm terribly sorry about that. I was just,
Fear not. You've done nothing wrong. Dr. Scythe's own wrongdoing precipitated the situation. You needn't concern yourself with it any further.
That would be a lot easier to do if it weren't for the piercing stare you're giving me.
Lord Von Zeeks is doing an admirable job of holding the fort. Though disturbingly, his apprentice has been missing since yesterday.
Oh, missing? So does he not know it's Kazuma either? What's become of Kazuma-sama now? So does Strongheart not know it's Kazuma either?
Not long ago, visitors' numbers to the great exhibitions exceeded 30 million.
30 million? Are there even that many people in the world? As a comparison, Mr. Naruhodo, the population of the imperial capital of Tokyo is 2 million.
I will be opening the International Forensic Science Symposium in the exhibition's main auditorium. This event has been 2 years in the making, 2 years of preparations and negotiations with other countries.
It sounds like a tremendous achievement. Congratulations.
The 20th century will see the wholesale adoption of forensic investigation techniques, and cooperation between policing organizations around the globe will be essential.
Is he trying to create Interpol?
Which is why this landmark first symposium had to be hosted here, the heart of our great British Empire, in order that Scotland Yard can become the leading investigation organization in the New World.
He's the same as ever, I see. The passion of his is quite something. You're every bit as passionate in your own way, I'm sure, Mr. Naruhodo.
I'm the only person in the country who truly cares about a future that embraces forensic science. It was my intention to become Her Majesty's Attorney in General and reform the Yard from the ground up. So the disgrace of the forensic investigation team has been a bitter blow to my ambitions.
Whoopsie. What's the status on that?
I first established a forensic team a year ago, experimentally to start with. What with Dr. Syth at the helm, it was steadily accruing an impressive record of achievement. I was on the verge of changing its name and elevating its status to a full-blown forensic investigation department.
And can you not do that now?
Obviously. Nobody wants to hear anything about it at the moment. Even I can't keep this story out of the papers. 6 million Londoners will be cursing forensic science now. This incident will set back our country's advancement in the field by a good 10 years, I'd say.
Unintended repercussions of our trial. I like how they put repercussions in red. We simply couldn't have overlooked what had happened, though.
Of course not. We should all be grateful to you both.
Well, at least he's chill about it. He's not mad at us.
Anyway, I will reform this country's policing when I become Attorney General. This might delay my plans, but I won't alter them. Nothing will stand in my way.
That sure isn't threatening or ominous. About Lord Von Zeke's apprentice.
Ah, yes. That came as a surprise to me, I must say, that you and he are old friends.
So he didn't know it was Cosmo, or he's lying. But I'm gonna err on the former for now. How did he become an apprentice to Lord Von Zeke's in the first place?
It came about 3 months ago. An unidentified Asian man was apprehended by border police. They found him hiding aboard a large goods vessel.
Oh my! So he stowed away to get here.
He had no papers to identify him, no passport, and he was suffering from amnesia too. Other than the facts he was clearly of Eastern descent, there was no clues as to who he was. So I decided to assign him to Lord Von Zeke's. That way I could keep an eye on him.
But then, why the mask?
The racism, mostly.
Yeah, so it was the racism.
Well, I didn't want to burden Lord Von Zeke's with tiresome explanations about why he had an Eastern apprentice.
Because it would be so much easier to explain why he was wearing a mask.
He's proving to be a great help to Lord Von Zeke's. I have high hopes for his future.
By the way, do you know where he's gone?
No idea, but I believe he's left London for the time being.
Aw, my guy best friend. Oh.
I take it you also didn't know. With that man's father was one of our country's most infamous criminals, I mean.
Genshin Asogi. Oh my god, so many things to talk about. What we learned from the trial 8 days ago was a huge shock, finding out my friend's father was...
Ah yes, Genshin Asogi. The Professor case 10 years ago caused a great stir here in Britain.
They were such awful murders and unprecedented. Using a ferocious dog as a murder weapon.
And no one would have believed the culprit was a foreign student invited to study here by the government. So the true identity of the killer couldn't be made public then and can't be made public now. Nobody in your country knows it was him, and neither do the citizens of London.
The main motivation was to avoid aggravating relations between our two nations at the time, I understand.
Correct. However, it has been noted that there were some supporters of the Professor's apparent cause.
What, his motive? He has a motive? What, supporters of a mass murder?
The majority of the man's victims were a blight on the aristocracy of the day. Somewhat ironically, the deaths actually benefited society as a whole. Or so a fair few thinkers in London believed, anyway.
Right, I see. But it was still murder, wasn't it? Fuck the law, though. Kill all the rich people, that's what I say. It seems very similar, doesn't it? To the idea of the Reaper of the Bailey.
It certainly does. I'm not going to talk about that. You can leave now.
Oh, we must have missed something at Sholmes' place. Alright. You know, maybe I can... Is Iris here? If I've remembered correctly, this large and imposing lump of iron is called a typewriter. To think that every single one of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes blossomed from this very machine. Ah, it's such a dreamy thought. I actually had to go on it the other day. The metal bars that move when you hit the keys got all tangled up somehow, and that made Iris angry. Mr. Naruhodo, you're ruining my dreamy thoughts. Please don't do that again. Now I've made Suzato-san angry as well. That's Iris's wonderful collection of medicines, potions, and chemicals. Just look at all the little bottles she squeezed onto the shelves. Yes, and there are charming little ribbons around the bottles, too. But the labels aren't quite so charming, are they? This one here reads Deadly Poison. Oh, I've been so excited about the idea of helping Iris with her experiments, you know. Just try to avoid any bottles labeled Deadly Poison, highly explosive. What else? What am I missing here? Ah yes, Mr. Sholmes' curious collection of trinkets from the various mysteries he solved. It's one of my favorite parts of this room, full of items with such exciting tales to tell. And I do believe he's added to it since I last looked. Now there's a mysterious pince-nez, a mysterious little box, a mysterious horseshoe, a mysterious biscuit. I think that last one might be just one of Iris's unfinished snacks. Well, have you taken a look at this, Sholmes? Mr. Sholmes, about this. Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, is this the first time you've shown me this particular trinket? Oh, I don't really remember, to be honest. If my saying that it's a colorful rig of a miniature canine with a particularly long neck would have precipitated a "here we go again" from your lips, we could be sure it was not the first time. He did say that. Deduction, you see, my dear fellow, deduction. Good old deduction. Oh, there's Kazuma's mask. The mask Kazuma wore when he was assigned to Lord Von Zeeks as his apprentice. When he cast it aside after the trial the other day, I just sort of picked it up. We ought to give it back to him, I suppose. But he has his memory back now, doesn't he? and I can't help feeling he might turn around and tell me coldly to wear it myself. But isn't he your best friend? It's true, he is my guy best friend. My eye is always drawn to this big metal chest that Mr. Sholmes and Iris use as a coffee table. Isn't it where Iris keeps her very important papers? It is, so you'd think that they'd treat it with more care, really. But only the other day I saw Mr. Sholmes kicking. Oh no! I suppose something must have been frustrating him. What a shame to mistreat the furniture, though. Was it damaged? The chest was fine, but Mr. Sholmes was doubled up on the floor for almost 10 minutes. The other day I stubbed my toe, Mr. Naruhodo, and I only cried for 20 minutes. Oh dear. That is a painful tale. Maybe I should go to the legal consultancy. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. What to do? It's good news that Professor Mikotoba arrived safely, isn't it? Yes, it's wonderful. And the fact that Father has been invited to this important international event really makes me very proud to be his daughter. Your father, Judge Jigoku, us, and Kazuma, of course. There's an ever-increasing number of Japanese here in Britain's capital, isn't there? Well, yes, I suppose so. But London does have a population of 6 million people, so I think we're still a minority. Oh boy, are ya. Suzato-san's father who came here as a visiting student 16 years ago, and Kazuma. It's almost as if some great power has been at work, drawing them here across the ocean to London. It's like how stand users are attracted to each other, so are lawyers. And I feel as though the waters are starting to swell again now. Well, that didn't answer my question. I'll be back very shortly. I have to take a moment, but it'll just be a minute, I promise. Ho 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 ho. I've returned. I would never keep you waiting too long, minions. Now let's see if I can figure out what to do. Let's see if I can figure out what to do here. We have to ask more things here, apparently. This looks like last week's edition. What's that article circled in red ink there? It's an advertisement column. It says, to the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League? What's that? I don't know. I've never heard of it before, but... He do be kind of red-headed right now. Is something on my face? Clearly, this has something to do with that lively hair. Alright, let's show this to, Sholmes. Can you... Get 4 pounds per week if you are a redhead. On account of the bequest of the late Ezekiel Hopkins of Lebanon... Oh, not Lebanon as in the country, Lebanon, Pennsylvania, of the United States. There's now another vacancy upon which entitles a member of the League to a salary of 4 pounds a week for purely nominal services. All red-headed men who are sound in body and mind and above the age of 21 years are eligible. Apply in person on the morning of the 31st at the large park on Lime Street. Interesting. I had never heard of the Red-Headed League. It looks as though someone circled an advertisement in this paper, Mr. Sholmes. To the Red-Headed League. Does that strike you in some way? I was thinking that just maybe it might be related to your bright red hair. The Gingers are unionizing? Oh no. Thatcher isn't gonna like this. So, at last you've learned to apply my methods, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? In the first instance, and quite indispensable, observation. Believe me, I could have seen that hair with my eyes shut. So then, allow me to regale you with the details of my latest exploits. Regale or boast? Alright, tell me about the Red-Headed League. So what is the Red-Headed League, which seems to be the subject of the advertisement you've circled? You noticed it in the paper, then? That, my dear fellow, was going to be the source of this month's rent payment. Of course. It was. How? According to the advertisement, the Red-Headed League is a distinguished institution of fellows of unspecified governments. In fact, the only condition for becoming a member is having red hair. That doesn't entirely surprise me. But listen to what the lucky redheads receive once they join. An unconditional salary of 4 pounds a week. Oh my, 4 pounds a week? I guess that's a lot in ye olde London times. But why? What are they paying people for? That I don't know. No details are given in the advertisement. But surely every red-headed person in the country would be flocking to join in that cause. You're right, Susie. There's no time to lose. I'll put in my application at once. Unfortunately, your hair is probably too pink. So will I, just on the off chance. That might be stretching a point, I think. The trouble is, they have a fixed number of members, you see. Oh, I see. So once a certain number of people have joined, no one else can. But as luck would have it, one member recently passed away. It wasn't particularly lucky for the redhead in question, I feel, Mr. Sholmes. So you decided to try to join in his place. Correct. I mean, look at me. Have you ever seen such a red-headed fellow? No. So why? Why did it have to go so wrong? What on earth happened? A blunder, Mr. Naruhodo, though it pains me to admit it. Oh no, tell me about your blunder. Tell me about your numerous blunders, Mr. Sholmes. What did you accidentally do to your hair, Mr. Holmes? Holmes? There's no such person, that's Sholmes. Holmes isn't a real guy. I'm glad you asked, Mrs. Otto. What you see atop my head is neither dyed nor a hairpiece. I changed the color of my hair overnight by the wonders of chemistry. Isn't a dye of the wonders of chemistry? Whatever. I was conducting some research into a method of rejuvenating spent tea leaves. Oops, that's the wrong button. And in the course of my work, I stumbled upon a potion that, when taken, turns one's hair flame-like red. Would you like to try it? I will make every hair on your body perfectly crimson. I think I'll pass. Well, you don't want hair on your body to be red? But Mr. Sholmes, is it quite safe to drink? Surely it's bad for you, isn't it? And amateurs are always hampered by such fears. Oh, I should have never doubted you, Mr. Sholmes, you mean to say. But of course! To earn £4 a week, one must be prepared to turn a blind eye to a little danger. No, so the potion isn't safe. That degree of rag signals more than just a little danger, surely. So anyway, Hurley left full of confidence yesterday with his new red hair. For the park on Lime Street where the Red-Headed League was interviewing prospective new members. So what went wrong? The whole park was choked with red-headed folk like a coster's orange barrow. I queued for 8 hours solid before at last I reached the front. But when the panel of interviewers saw me, they immediately said, "Ah, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, are you in disguise to conduct an investigation?" His fame unfortunately precedes him. So naturally, I had no choice but to reply, "Shush, don't give me away." After which I could do little else but turn and leave. Then this morning, when I looked in the mirror, irritation stirred within me. So I turned that pair into the police. Oh dear, what a disaster. For Hurley and those two redheads. Wait, what are the two redheads we're talking about? Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Aha! Here's my guest now, my latest client with money to spend. Ooh, I do hope it's an exciting case, Hurley. Remember, Iris, we are at present gripped by the greatest problem known to man. I must be willing to accept any case, no matter how unstimulating, save locating a runaway, of course. Don't spare anyone's feelings, will you? Oh dear, I'm afraid that Hurley can lack a little tact, especially just before the rent is due. Thwack! Oh, it's the juror number 2 from the last case. Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, please, oh please, please find my husband, he's run away. Oh, a runaway. To upset me. I beg your pardon? Never mind, a personal matter, my apologies. What exactly are you trying to say, Mr. Naruhodo? I didn't say a word. Come, my dear madam, be seated. Iris, some tea, if you please. Of course. What's the matter, Mrs. Otto? Oh, it's just that gentlewoman. I feel as though I've seen her somehow before, very recently. Yes, now you come to mention it. It's juror number 2. She's got her titties out. As I explained earlier, my name is Evie Vigil. I implore you to take the case, sir. Money is no object. Simply name your figure. Money and wealth are of little consequence to me, madam. Being offered a case to solve is reward enough. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you are the picture of benevolence. I will, of course, make a mental note of your offer, however, for more contingent reasons. I trust you will remember your words also. If I might inquire, sir. This gentleman and a lady would be... Oh, me. What am I about to tell you? I should like to communicate in the strictest confidence, if you understand. Ah, these are my friends. I assure you, you may say before this pair anything which you may say to me. Ah, I see. I can vouch for the gentleman personally, after all. He is hard of hearing. Why did I ever get my hopes up? Everybody's just being really rude to Ryunosuke today. Bum bum. Forgive me for asking, Mrs. Vigil, but have we met somewhere before? Quite recently, perhaps? Oh my. Pshaw, my dear fellow, what is your intention? Clearly you have no ability to differentiate the facial features of the English. If you wish to invite the lady to tea, you must do so in a more gentlemanly fashion. He's saying that when Ryunosuke is Japanese and has to deal with all of the racism in London. Is it possible that you're the nice young lawyer from the trial I attended last week? Ah, I knew I recognized her. Yeah, she was a pretty easy to convince juror. To have a man's fate in the palm of one hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. I didn't quite recognize her because she's acting so differently now. It must be very difficult for you as a lawyer, being hard of hearing, I mean. That's just something Sholmes made up because he thought it would be funny. Pardon? Oh dear, I'm so sorry. Don't worry if you can't hear, it was frippery, really, nothing more. Now look what you've started, Mr. Sholmes. Thank you very much. And I believe it would be prudent for you to sit quietly in the corner. Yes. Tell me about your husbando, who has disappeared. Tell us about your husband, madam. Oops. Mr. Vigil, my daily, is 40 years of age. I have a photograph here. Yeah, that sure is a guy. I hate his hair part. An entirely unremarkable gentleman, by appearance at least. How long have you been married? It will be 15 years this year. We have a cordial relationship, and my husband's income is more than adequate, so we could live quite comfortably. As it would appear. Yeah, I need only look at you to know these things. Oh gosh. Your dress is the latest style, your hat clearly regularly groomed, and your eyes are animated. In short, you have no inkling as to why your husband might have disappeared, correct? I mean, she already said that, didn't she? She didn't know why her husband disappeared? Ah. That's right. He's a kind man who, with a strong sense of loyalty, and he rather dotes on me. Oh, I love it when men dote on me. Which would be point to the possibility that he has become embroiled in some incident or other. Oh, that is exactly what I fear must have happened, Mr. Sholmes. I'm quite beyond myself. My husband's employment is somewhat unusual, you see. What if he's incurred some miscreant's ill will? What exactly is your husband's line of work? He's a warder at the prison. A guard? That is somewhat unusual. Tell us about your prison warder husbando. So, your husband is a prison warder? That's right, yes. Well, in actual fact, he's the chief warder. Indeed, I see. Well, chief prison warder certainly qualifies as something of a specialist occupation. Yes, it does indeed. My poor husband must prepare those dreadful punishments and see what they're carried out. Dreadful punishments? Does she mean capital punishments? And at such times, he must occasionally spend a night or two in the prison dormitory. But for the extra responsibility, he's remunerated more handsomely than the other warders. Of course, he makes no mention of my husband's work to the neighbors. Yes, I believe your patience is justified. Tell me, at what prison is your husband engaged? Barclay Prison, Mr. Sholmes. Really, Barclay? Oh, a fine establishment. If I'm not mistaken, there is a large cemetery just behind it. Yes, that's correct. So it's Barclay again, huh? Lowgate Cemetery. That's the one Drebber was in when the professor allegedly rose from his grave. No. Lowgate Cemetery? The very place we were discussing in court. That's unbelievable. Almost too unbelievable. Unbelievable, my dear fellow, yet undeniable. Undeniable. Sorry, Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid you've lost me. Ah, pay no heed, madam, pay no heed. A private matter. This can't really be a coincidence, can it? Okay, what's the last question about your husband's disappearance? So, to the matter of your husband's disappearance. When did you realize he was missing? Please try not to laugh. It was yesterday. I'm sorry? Yesterday? That really is recent. Laughably so. The truth is, my husband does at times have occasion to spend the night away for his work. It's not all out of the ordinary for him to return home at night, but this is different. For him not to make any contact for a whole day, that has certainly never happened before. Oh, my dear Daly, whatever can have happened to him? My dear Mrs. Vigil, please calm yourself. Now then, have you contacted the police? Why, naturally. But sadly, they refuse to listen to my pleas as my husband has only been missing for 1 day. I was asked to wait patiently at London. At home. In truth, Mrs. Vigil, I will concur with the police. However, let us not be hasty. I see no reason why we should not engage my abductive powers to track your husband down anyways. Oh, thank you, Mr. Sholmes. And furthermore, let me assure you, a chance to solve the greatest problem known to man for another month has no bearing on my decision. I seek only to put a sweet smile on another Londoner's face. That's really all there is to it. He lied. You have my eternal gratitude. I shall pay any sum you care to mention. You seek only to put this sweet's rent in your landlady's purse. That's all there is to it. Thank you for everything you have shared with us, Mrs. Vigil. I believe I have all the information I need to begin my investigation. Oh, please report to me soon with good news, sir. Fear not, madam. In a day or two, I shall be contacting you with a heartening report, I'm quite sure. So soon? Oh, how splendid, Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes? I'm so sleepy tonight, oh gosh. Good news should be delivered early, I always say. If you would be so kind as to leave the photograph of your husband in my possession. And by that I mean Ryunosuke's possession. Let's get a look at what this really looks like. Oh, that's right. That's what he looks like. She showed us that earlier. Thank you. Now allow me to show you the door. I can't thank you enough, Mr. Sholmes. You've been simply marvelous. You know, I think it every time, Hurley. But how do you come out with such nonsense? Good news in a day or two? Are you sure? I can't be sure, of course, but then I didn't swear on it. I merely gave the good woman some hope. I hope to be able to give her good news, one might say. Hope for the best, expect the worst. After all, the rent must be paid by the end of the day tomorrow.
By that time, I've successfully located Mr. Vigil. We shall be mutually relieved. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruto? Don't look at me like those planning eyes. Well, my dear fellow, did you hear the details of the case? Yes, my hearing is surprisingly good, actually. Excellent! And what did you make of it? Well, I was surprised to learn where her husband worked. At Barclay Prison, I mean. Ah, so you noted that. Of course, especially with the mention of Lowgate Cemetery. Yeah, it's the one Trevor visited, and when he saw the dead man walk again. Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison, so it was renowned among us students at the university for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned rocks. That's right, because people can do that thing yeah. Barclay Prison is where that notorious man was incarcerated. The professor. And now a warder from the prison has mysteriously disappeared, it would seem. It's all very peculiar. Indeed. But nothing you can't handle, I'm quite certain, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? Run along the prison and see what you can glean. Would you? It's the prison governor you want. No doubt the man is equally worried. But aren't you going to go yourself? Surely you needn't ask. I can possibly see out with this hair. I don't know, it doesn't look that bad. But didn't you go to Lime Street with that hair? That was quite a different matter. So I leave it in your capable hands. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm rather busy. Adieu. Of course you are. Prison governor's office. Okay, we will go to the prison governor's office tomorrow. I apologize, minions, for the much shorter than usual stream, but you know what? You're right, Linkwolf. I am not beating the sleepyhead allegations. I'm actually, I can feel it pulling me. I can feel my bed chambers pulling me. I need beauty rest. So that's what I will go do. Remember, it's never worth losing out on beauty rest. So thank you everybody for watching. Tomorrow we'll pick up more of the Ace Attorney. So look forward to it. Thank you for watching, guys. Good night.